feeling all the feelings.
Welcome to the Hopefulist, a daily talk show hosted by veteran broadcaster Wendy McClure. Join Wendy each day as she shares her life lessons that transformed her from perpetual pessimist to the ultimate hopefulist. The perfect morning show to get you caught up on the day's top stories while sharing insights that will lead to positive transformation and bring out the hopefulist in you. For more inspiration, visit Hopefulist.com. And now, here's your host and hopefulist, Wendy McClure.
Hello, and thank you so much for joining me for your daily dose of inspiration and positivity. Starting out with the quote of the day: sitting in purposeful silence is food for your heart and soul. It's as if your mind spends most of its time hanging out at a loud bar, your brain, where everyone's screaming and yelling and singing the Wild Rover at the top of their drunken lungs. Meditation shuts down the bar, rolls everyone out the door, and allows your higher self to commune with universal intelligence so they can actually hear each other. There you go. Take a little time to be quiet with yourself this weekend. We are talking about the struggles that kids will never experience in this day and age. Yes, there are many. In fact, I was just reading a book last night, and in it, they were talking about how, if you're having trouble with something, just whip out your calculator and, whatever. And she said, remember when, think back to your school years. Remember the teacher would always be like, well, you won't always have a calculator on hand, will you? She's like, and we showed them, didn't we? Thank you, smartphone. So that's one thing. They always have a calculator right at their fingertips, as we all do. But yeah, they don't ever have to go through the struggle of searching in their drawer, in their bag, their book bag, to find where that calculator is, because it's always right at the tip of their fingers. Speaking of phones, Adele mentioned having to talk to a phone that was attached to the wall. Yes, remember that? Remember the super long cords? Used to get the super long cord so you could walk as far around in the house as possible. And for us really old people, the rotary phone. That's right. You used to have to dial the numbers, actually dial them. I was watching Ellen one time, and she had some millennials on to see if they knew how to work an old rotary phone. They had no idea. It was hilarious to watch them try and figure out how to work the darn thing. So it was pretty hysterical. Speaking of phones, Marcy says finding a payphone to call your mom to come pick you up from the mall, the game, the park, etc. That's so true. Joe says having to look things up in the encyclopedia. My dad would always say if I asked a question, go look it up. Yeah, and that made me think of, and that's if you had some encyclopedias. Lots of times we had to go to the library to just look things up. We have no idea how Google has completely changed our lives. And remember when you used to have to do papers back in school, the bibliography? Remember having to put together your bibliography? You had to name all your sources and where you found it. Do they put just Google now for their bibliography in school? I'm not really sure. John says getting off your butt to change the TV channel. Oh, yes. And this is mine, sitting next to the radio all day, waiting for your new favorite song to come on so you could hit the record button on your boom box. And then inevitably the DJ would talk through the entire intro and ruin your recording. So many things. Also, speaking of music, the cassette tapes, how they would get stuck in the tape recorder. You would have to have this long line of tape, and you'd get a pencil, and you'd have to try and get it back in. Sometimes it was completely ruined. Sometimes you were able to save it. Speaking of recording off the radio, then remember they came out with the cassette singles, and you just hoped and prayed that song, that particular song, would be on and available on a cassette single so that you didn't have to buy the whole darn tape. Speaking of, what about tapes? Tapes were awesome. I wish we still had tapes. They were a lot easier to record. I mean, your mixtapes. Oh, so much fun. So much fun. So I wanted to take today to read to you a little more from Untamed by Glennon Doyle. You've heard me reference this book quite a bit. And there's just all sorts of goodness and wisdom in this book. So I wanted to go over a little bit more of what she has to say. And I probably will be doing this a little more often with other books throughout the next couple of weeks. And maybe forever. Who knows? We'll see how you like this format. But there is this particular section in Untamed called Feel. And she says, key one is to feel it all. She says, on my 6th day of sobriety, I went to my 5th recovery meeting. I sat in a cold plastic seat, trembling, trying to keep the coffee from spilling out of my paper cup and my feelings from spilling out of my skin. For 16 years, I had made damn sure that nothing touched me. And suddenly everything in the world was touching me. I was an exposed nerve. Everything hurt. I was embarrassed to tell anyone how much I hurt, but I decided to try to explain it to the people in that circle. They were the first people I trusted with all of me because they were the first people I ever heard tell the whole truth. They had shown me their insides, so I showed them mine. I said something like, I'm Glennon, and I've been sober for 6 days. I feel awful. I think this awfulness is why I started drinking in the first place. I'm starting to worry that what was wrong with me wasn't the booze, it was underneath it. It was me. It doesn't seem like being alive is as hard for other people as it is for me. It just feels like there's some kind of secret to life. I don't know. Like I'm doing it all wrong. Thanks for listening. After the meeting ended, a woman walked over and sat down next to me. She said, thanks for sharing. I relate. I just wanted to tell you something that somebody told me in the beginning. It's okay to feel all of the stuff you're feeling. You're just becoming human again. You're not doing life wrong. You're doing it right. If there's any secret you're missing, it's that doing it right is just really hard. Feeling all your feelings is hard, but that's what they're there for. Feelings are for feeling, all of them, even the hard ones. The secret is that you're doing it right, and that doing it right hurts sometimes. I did not know before that woman told me that all feelings were for feeling. I didn't know that I was supposed to feel everything. I thought I was supposed to feel happy. I thought that happy was for feeling and that pain was for fixing and numbing and deflecting and hiding and ignoring. I thought that when life got hard, it was because I had gone wrong somewhere. I thought that pain was weakness and that I was supposed to suck it up. But the thing was, the more I sucked it up, the more food and booze I had to suck down. That day I began returning to myself, fearful and trembling, pregnant and 6 days sober in a church basement with crappy fluorescent lights and terrible coffee, when a kind woman revealed to me that being fully human is not about feeling happy. It's about feeling everything. From that day forward, I began to practice feeling it all. I began to insist upon my right and responsibility to feel it all, even when taking the time and energy for feeling made me a little less efficient, a little less convenient, a little less pleasant. In the past 18 years, I have learned 2 things about pain. First, I can feel everything and survive. What I thought would kill me didn't. Every time I said to myself, I can't take this anymore, I was wrong. The truth was that I could and did take it all, and I kept surviving. Surviving again and again made me less afraid of myself, of other people, of life. I learned that I'd never be free from pain, but I could be free from the fear of pain, and that was enough. I finally stopped avoiding fires long enough to let myself burn. And what I learned was that I am like that burning bush. The fire of pain won't consume me. I can burn and live. I can live on fire. I am fireproof. Second, I can use pain to become. I am here to keep becoming truer, more beautiful versions of myself again and again forever. To be alive is to be in perpetual state of revolution. Whether I like it or not, pain is the fuel of revolution. Everything I need to become the woman I'm meant to be next is inside my feelings of now. Life is alchemy, and emotions are the fire that turns me to gold. I will continue to become only if I resist extinguishing myself 1,000,000 times a day. If I can sit in the fire of my own feelings, I will keep becoming. Love that. Love those words. Thank you, Glennon. So what do you think? What do you think about sitting with your pain? Sounds scary as heck, doesn't it? Yeah, we all try to avoid it. You know, sitting with your pain and realizing and feeling all your feelings is hard, but so is smothering them, pushing them down, refusing to acknowledge them, excuse me, because they won't go away until you do. And even then, sometimes it takes a little work to get past them. But you can't even begin until you sit with those feelings, acknowledge them, and make some sort of peace with them. Right? It's Friday, people. It's Friday. How was your week? Was it a good week? Was it a bad week? You know, it's a week. Happy to be alive. Happy to be here. Happy to be given another chance with another day. It's the gratitude in life that makes a difference. I'll tell you that. So, I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Be safe in whatever you do. And, of course, be badass. You know I'm here cheering you on.
Thank you for listening to The Hopefulist, hosted by Wendy McClure. For more inspiration, please visit hopefulist.com. Thanks, and we'll see you tomorrow on The Hopefulist.